I hope you all had a great lunch and with coffee, of course, that's important. So today we are going to talk about userization and digital adoption platform from Whatfix. And I have with me Ali. Ali, do you want to give a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Neha. My name is Ali Mansouri, and I work with Whatfix. And Whatfix is a GEP partner company. And I manage tech partnerships here, and GEP being one of our premier ISV partners. I'm super excited to be sharing this main stage along with an organization which is driving profound change in the procurement and supply chain ecosystem. So yeah, looking forward to the session.
Yeah, we had a very successful partnership with Whatfix, and could you elaborate a little bit more on the topic today of driving digital adoption through userization?
Absolutely. I think it's a concept which is relatively newer, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you would have heard it, but it's a category which is growing in the last 8 to 10 years and getting a lot of prominence. We call it digital adoption solutions or digital adoption platforms. At core, what we do, right? At core, our objective is to create, a layer between users and the technology, and that layer of experience is basically helping users to be able to adopt the technology in the quickest way and form by providing them with in-app guidance, personalization in terms of who you are in the platform, what does your role demand in terms of completing those processes, and most importantly, a way we give organizations to measure how your users are actually utilizing the platform through analytics, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important to see that as we see a lot of innovative technology coming up, one key theme that we've seen is typically users whenever they engage with technology, how do you basically give them that experience layer? But at the same time, how do you organizations can also be able to measure that is the ROI of the investment into that technology coming in at the same time, and adoption and UX has a really important word to play over there. So those are my thoughts, Neha, on just to start things off, and then we can delve more. Any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like my personal favorite is, the data-driven analytics that we get. It just makes our job so much easier to get more insights into it, and we make some good design decisions based on how our users are using the product. So that definitely helps us there. And also, I feel the reduction of manual errors
Yeah.
is also something that is very, very helpful. Whatfix has helped us achieve that, which ultimately results into cost reductions. And also, the other piece of it is better onboarding experience for our new users. We see that there is a resistance to change.
Yeah.
Our demographics might be widely different. And with the help of Whatfix, we do have seen a major growth in our onboarding experiences, especially for new users.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about artificial intelligence and how do you think it's going to affect the procurement industry, specifically around digital adoption?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, from a digital adoption point of view, I think one thing that we're trying to do is hyper-personalize based on, the diverse user sets that we encounter day in, day out, right? We're trying to have a different role to play in an organization when it comes to that technology. So yes, Whatfix is, and the entire digital adoption ecosystem and space is heavily investing in OpenAI. We do, have a lot of information coming in from, a lot of these applications that we support too. And we're basically trying to use that through an LLM and kind of process that information and, come up with, I think the center of all of this is, more responsible and human AI. That's what we're trying to get to that stage and provide, as I said, summarization, contextualization based on what the other users have already done. So that's definitely a key area for us as we keep investing. And I did see the quantum launch yesterday, so I think there's big synergy between Whatfix and the quantum launch of GEP in the subsequent months and quarters.
Yeah, I agree. Contextual help with the help of AI is going to be a game changing for us as
Absolutely.
well. So that's great. moving on to some of the challenges that you have, heard from the user base. So, what are some of the current challenges, user challenges that you have observed, which restricts an organization in realizing full potential of enterprise applications like GEP, specifically in the procurement world?
Absolutely. Look, when we talk about application adoption, one thing that we realize is, and actually, let me just take two steps back, right? Let me give you a data point, right? So there was a report by Gartner in May 2023 where they said that typically, and they surveyed about 4,800 employees, and they realized that enterprises today have anywhere between 11 to 13 applications,
Oh, wow.
which a user or a knowledge-based worker uses to perform their duties. And this has been significantly gone up since 2019, where the number of applications used to be around 6. So as we can see that there's going to be more tech, which is going to be coming to the users to be utilizing it. And I think one common problem that we see that in a world where we're so accustomed to Amazon style experiences,
Yep.
right? We're so used to that experience that when it comes to mission critical business applications, it do tend to, it's not the complexity, but it's just the amount of nested ifs and buts that are involved when you're doing those processes. So how can you create that seamless experience between the users is something that is really important. And the other thing is the cost of inaction, right? The cost of inaction could be great in terms of especially in the source to pay procurement ecosystem, right? These are mission critical tools. These have a direct impact on the business. If a user is not being able to adopt to these processes or these applications, it could be a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I think and this is all tied back to the platform. If it's not being utilized in the right manner, it has a direct business impact to you. So in my opinion, I think there is great synergy in this space. That's what we are working towards in terms of having an on-demand guidance within the application. All right, along with that, coupled with analytics as well, where we actually able to tell you that where your users are spending the most amount of time in within the particular platform.
Yep.
So yeah, those are my thoughts, Neha, for the moment. Yeah.
That's great. I 100% agree with you. I think the unclear value proposition is something that Whatfix has helped us, over achieve. Like if the benefits and advantages of the product are not highlighted properly, we have seen, customers not being able to adopt it. But if there's a clear value proposition, we definitely have seen increase in it. And also, as I just said, resistance to change.
Yeah.
So our partnership together has definitely helped us, overcome that resistance, I would say,
Absolutely.
by educating them. And also, as you just said, procurement world doesn't stop for anybody.
Absolutely.
And that real-time support is definitely that these tools help us get
Absolutely.
there.
I think the other thing that I want to elaborate here is, look, the one common theme which we see that is a big challenge when we speak to organizations is we live in a multi-generational workforce right now, right? Everybody has different ways of assimilating information,
Yes.
consuming information, and like a one size fits all solution doesn't really work. And that's the reason we talk about personalization where, and again, I'll be touching about userization, right? The concept of userization is basically that the users don't need to be technology savvy. The technology needs to be user savvy, right? How do you basically make sure that the technology is able to adopt to how the user uses the system? How are they able to assimilate information? And these are some of the challenges that we are trying to solve in today's time. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true, certainly. Now, you touched upon a very interesting word called userization, and I'm sure everybody in the audience is like wondering what it is about. So, if you can help us elaborate on its intricacies,
Sure.
just a understanding of what it actually means, that would be helpful.
Sure. So let me give you an example, right? Typically what the traditional ways of, adoption would be that, let's just say you're going live, right? And the few things that we do is we go through a train the trainer session, right? We have a WebEx session. We go through a complete training session. You have your job aids ready. You're at the peak of adoption, and then suddenly you see a drop off in terms of adoption, primarily because you have users who don't use the platform so frequently come in, and then you have users who are using PDFs, job aids, where, in the moment of need, if they're not able to find that information, they'll probably spend so much time, probably log in a support ticket, etc. So in case of userization, the idea is more around you analyze the user behavior within the platform. And through this partnership, what we're able to do successfully is we're able to go ahead and identify what your user is actually spending the most amount of time in the platform. Where are the areas or challenges from we call it digital friction areas or friction points within the application. So think about a requisition process, which could be 10 steps. You can now actually go ahead and understand that in that 10-step process, where was the time you saw users spend the most amount of time on? Where did they, drop off from the happy path that was supposed to complete? And based on that, you can actually create guidance based on these behaviors. So we call these cohorts. Based on what your user is actually doing, you can go ahead and target and personalize that information. I'll give you a very simple example, right? Have you ever gone to an e-commerce website and tried to abandon the cart a few times, and then suddenly you see a pop-up which says, "Hey, here's a 10% discount," right?
Yeah, I played that
Right?
trick many times.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's exactly how we augment this user behavior and try to provide them guidance based on these challenges. So that's exactly userization, what we, as a concept, in terms of making it more user friendly. The technology needs to adopt the user behavior, rather the user who's using 16 or 17 applications on a day-to-day basis does not need to adopt to all of those. So
That's true.
that's the concept. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like keeping the user engaged as much as you
as
can
much as
on
you
the
can.
system. That's
Absolutely.
great. You and I have been working very closely in last few months and a year. So I'm sure for the benefit of the audience, can you provide a little more color on the strategic partnership between Whatfix and GEP?
Yeah.
And how do you think it uniquely enhances the overall user experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk about that. So, uh, I think what we saw is close to about. I think this partnership is close to about 1.5 year old now, and
Yeah.
um, what we realized is back in the time is we saw great synergies in terms of processes, and we worked with Ken and team to kind of form this partnership back in the time. But together we built out an integration, right? So we are currently integrated within the GEP, Smart and Next platform at the moment. And when we took this to market, we saw that a lot of these use cases were resonating with a lot of the customers and prospects that we spoke to. And I think I can probably just move on to that slide here real quickly. We found that these were some of the use cases that we found, which were from an impact point of view, and these are some of the cases which we got prospects talk about, that how do we kind of reduce the overall ramp up time for users, right? I think one of the key things is not everyone's going to be using the platform every day. How do you make sure that you have something within the application, self-service, on demand, and it's contextual and personalized as well, right? So that was one of the key things that we realized was the need of the hour, and we were supporting it. The others that we saw is change management, right? Now, what we've also realized is processes evolve, right? Again, the traditional way of communicating changes would be an email, or would be bringing everyone on a job, throwing a job aid at everyone. So it was not the most efficient way. So we thought that this is one of the ways where we can go ahead and drive communication within the application itself. So you would get those notifications. And I think the last one, which was really important for organization, is the amount of time that they spent in just creating this content, right? Think about managing those job aids, creating those job aids, versus a platform where you can do it all through one single click. So we saw all of these impacts, and we found out that organizations are not typically using one or two applications, right?
Yep.
They're actually looking at using it across 5 or 6 or 7 applications. So these are some of the key proponents of our partnerships, and from an impact point of view, this is what we keenly observed. Yeah,
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for some of these in here, like change management, which is
absolutely.
absolutely crucial for our system. Um, Drawing from your customer interactions, can you elaborate on the specific ways in which Whatfix is instrumental in enabling clients to unlock full potential of GEP
Yeah.
and optimize the returns on their technology investments? We all talk about ROI, we're big on it. So,
Look, typically for most of the organizations, when it comes to investing in a platform, I think the true ROI is definitely is the application being used in the desired way it was purchased on, is the technology being adopted, and the way when we went to market, a lot of those customers said, hey guys, you look like the insurance to software, right? Because we kind of are that layer which makes sure that, all right, the ROI is usability of the platform in the desired manner in terms of what it was agreed when you initiated the transformation. Is there a way to measure it right now? I mean, with Whatfix or with a DApp or a digital adoption platform? Yes. Can you go ahead and also go ahead and see how your users are behaving with the platform? Yes. So all those were check marks, and we got called as the insurance to your investments in software. But that being said, there are some real time KPIs which we impacted, right, from organizations perspective. Think about where you are in that entire deployment cycle, right? If you're probably just gone live, one of the key things or a KPI which Whatfix could impact is onboarding users, right? If you have users in different geographies who need multi-language support, we help you with localization. And all of this is within the platform without you needing to go outside. And then the other few things are data completeness. Like, how do you make sure that users get a nudge within the platform if they are not doing the right thing right there within the platform, right? So if you have, let's just say, a form field and it needs to go through a certain criteria, and if the users are not complying with it, can you give a user an intelligent nudge within the platform itself? So those are some of the KPIs. And I think the last few ones which we've seen is just support queries, right? Now, typically, think about the volume of users who are going to be using your platform, and think about 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 users coming in. And if they have the slightest of queries, I mean, one of the examples that I see in my organization, that if the button disappears or it just moves positions, my support team has 30 queries already that, hey, where's the button? The button's disappeared, right? So simple things like these, which could be, taken care of by something which is right within the platform. These are some of the KPIs which we impact heavily. And I think from an ROI perspective, I think we've seen close to a reduction of about 40 to 60% support queries. We've seen close to a major change or a reduction in terms of the content that is used to be creating these collateral, et cetera, the time that's been taken to create this collateral and disseminate this information to all these users. Now imagine if you have a global deployment, you have 20 different languages, you have 20 different regions, and then there's the biggest problem is turnover, right? You'll have individuals coming into the application, leaving the application, and it's really difficult to have like a dynamic loop to just make sure that the process is consistent across all of them. So I think these are some of the ways that we heavily impact the entire source to pay platforms that we currently get overlaid on, and the other applications as well. So again, as I told you, right, we are platform agnostic, right? We could be overlaid across any application, web or desktop application, etc.
Yep, I fully agreed there. You touched a bit on the KPIs, right, which we were just discussing, but how do you measure the adoption success?
Absolutely. So when we speak to customers, we try to understand what is the KPI that we would like to impact, right? Again, as I said, for some of them, it could be making sure that the users are complying with the process. For some organizations, it could be that, can we ensure that we have X amount of support queries going down? Or for some individuals, it could be that, is the training that we have created is being accessed, or is it being utilized or not? So we do have these different KPIs based on where organizations are in that particular journey of deployment. And then we kind of use that with our analytics, because within the analytics that we have, we can also go ahead and see how's the engagement of the platform, how many users are actually using the guides, how many users are abandoning these guides or all of this information. And then the other capability that we have is you can nudge them based on how they are behaving in the application. So that's, as I said, it all boils down, comes back to the personalization aspect. But yes, the KPIs could differ based on where you are and in terms of your journey of your implementation.
Yeah, and it definitely has helped user experience team to basically find out the struggling areas where our users are struggling, and then provide the right design solution. So I 100% agree with you there. In terms of user feedback, what have been the notable responses from the organizations that have embraced userization in their digital adoption journey with GEP and Whatfix?
We've got a couple of case studies in terms of direct business impacts, right? I mean, like to just to give you an example, there was this organization where they used to see a lot of support queries keep coming in from the supplier side, right? And it was actually slowing down a lot of their processes in terms of just onboarding them on the supplier registration side. And again, the population was so diverse, right? You could have 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 suppliers touching your platform.
Yep.
And that's also another critical aspect. So we did have certain case studies over here in terms of how Whatfix impacted, and these were direct impacts in terms of spends of organizations, the speed of doing business as well. So yeah, maybe I could share that a little more in detail, but yeah, that was one of the examples which we have jointly. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. That was very, very helpful. I found a lot of information in with you today. I would actually like to open it up for questions, if any, from the audience.
Yep, we have a question there.
I can hear you.
Like, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we do have an integration across, so you could go ahead and enable on any GEP suite of application. Yeah.
Brian, you're going to or Day?
Hello. The concept definitely sounds exciting. I would like to see a demo. I don't think we have time right now, but I think it would be easier for us to relate to it if we can see this in action. So
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we can definitely catch up outside. We have a booth right there. We'd love to kind of show you a demo there.
okay, sounds
Absolutely.
good. Thank you.
No questions?
Any other questions? Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.